స్టార్ట్ చేశాను. ఈ చైర్ చాలా కిందికి ఉంటుంది. ఒక మంచి చైర్ తెచ్చి పెడితే బెటర్ కదా. పోనీ ఇంకోటన్నా వేస్తే దీని మీద కొంచెం ఎత్తాం, లేకపోతే అసలు కనిపిస్తలేదు. గుడ్ మార్నింగ్ టు ఆల్. వినిపించిందా? హౌ ఆర్ యు ఆల్ టుడే? Had good weekend? Thank you. Had good weekend? Okay. Let's start today with a very important topic, that is about the measles. Because we are dealing with respiratory tract infections, epidemiology of respiratory tract infections. My last class was about the smallpox and chickenpox. In continuation, today I am going to teach you all about measles. Measles is very important from your exam point of view. You all are more interested in exam, so it's very important from exam point of view. You may get a long question, and in the viva usually they ask about the infectious diseases and especially about measles. Okay, let's start. Am I audible? It's not coming. So coming to your objectives, learning objectives which are specific, you should be able to describe the epidemiology of measles. And then after description of epidemiology of the disease, you should also know that how you should mention the measures to control. So control measures. And you all know the community medicine department is mainly interested in control and prevention. So then how we like to prevent it by using vaccines. So enumerate the vaccines which are available. Those are your 3 specific learning objectives at the end of the class. I don't know. Are you able to see the slides, please? I don't know. Just for a second, because I think he has not downloaded it. I don't know whether you all are able to see. Now you will be able to see, I think. Yeah, introduction. Measles is a very highly contagious disease, and it is an acute viral infection. It is caused by the virus. And what type of virus it is caused, which you have learned in your microbiology, it is the paramyxovirus. It's an RNA virus, and it is like primarily it is a illness of the respiratory tract, and then it occurs in developing countries because of the various reasons. You all know about the difference between developing countries and developed countries. Okay, and then it causes high morbidity and mortality. Please remember that measles has no animal reservoir. It occurs only in humans. Why am I telling about the reservoir? Because ultimately when you want to eliminate any disease, it depends on the reservoir of infection and also the various other factors. So one of the important aspect of to eliminate a disease is about the reservoir of infection. When there are more reservoirs like animal reservoir, it is more difficult to eliminate. And so indirectly what I am telling you all is, measles can be eliminated because there is no animal reservoir. Coming to problem statement, it is endemic worldwide and it is a seasonal disease and it occurs in epidemics. And 40% of the epidemics are reported throughout the world. So it's usually if the measles virus enters a virgin community means unimmunized community, like none of the child is immunized against measles, that community is called virgin community. And then if the virus enters such community, it will infect more than 90% of them. 90% of them are affected. And globally, it is, I told you all that it has high morbidity and mortality. So mortality, the deaths reported at global level as on 1980 are, the figures are old, but this is the figures which are available. So I have just sharing with you all the data which is available. So 2.6 million deaths are reported at global level as in 1980. And then a 2-dose, government of India has introduced 2 doses of measles vaccine. MCV is nothing but measles containing vaccine. Please remember that it is measles containing vaccine. So after introduction of 2 doses, the deaths throughout the globe have fallen down from 7 lakhs to 1,22,000 in 2012. So in 12 years, there is a tremendous drop of deaths from 7 lakhs to 1 lakh. And it is very rare in industrialized countries. Many challenges are there to eliminate measles. We will look into it. And in 2010, Government of India has introduced 2-dose strategy. Previously, before 2010, it was only 1 dose, which was introduced through universal immunization program, and it was given only to infants who were 9 months plus up to 1 year. That was the single dose which was given. But in 2010, Government of India has introduced 2-dose strategy. It is the major cause of morbidity and cases go unreported. Most of the cases go unreported. 2% of under 5 mortality is because of the measles. So there is a significant contribution of deaths due to measles. If 2% of under 5s die because of measles, wherein we have a very potent vaccine, it is not correct. We do not accept it. So let us see what government is doing. Prior to immunization, it was a cyclic trend. That's why I was telling you all that it is a seasonal disease and it occurs once in 3 years. When you look at the graph, the line graph, you see that every 3 years there is a peak. So that is called cyclic trend. There are different ways of presentation of the data, I think, which you are already taught in the statistics or about the presentation of the data. There you will see that measles represents as cyclic. So once in 3 years there is a peak. Got it? So it is a cyclic trend and it's a seasonal disease. With immunization, what happened is the interval increased. Instead of every 3 years, then it was once in 5 years or 7 years, like that. The data is not available, but the interval increased and intensity minimized because of the vaccination. Got it? Okay. Then several outbreaks in tribal and remote areas were reported. And these outbreaks usually occur because of if there are a number of susceptibles in the community. Susceptibles means unimmunized children. Then there are more outbreaks, and these outbreaks are usually in tribal and remote area. It may be because of the access to immunization may not be there, or they may be like beliefs, values, etc. That's why outbreaks are usually reported from tribal and very remote areas. And when you look at the trend, like I was telling that intensity like interval increase, instead of every 3 years cyclic trend, the it increase. Thus there is a decline in trend of the cases. It has declined from from 2.5 lakhs in 1987 to just 15,768 cases and with 56 deaths. Such a small number but compared to 2% of under 5 mortality rate due to measles. Epidemiology. Coming to epidemiology, the agent. Agent is the RNA paramyxovirus, which I already told you all. The virus cannot survive outside the human body. So what was I telling? I said that there is no animal reservoir. So it cannot survive outside the human body. But then it retains its infectivity even at sub-zero temperature. So it can still be infective in cold countries. And it is grown in cell culture. What is the source of infection? The source of infection is mainly the case. The case, it can be the case or it can also be in the subclinical form, but it is very less evidence is there because it's an acute contagious disease. It's an acute contagious disease. The infective material is usually, when you look at the clinical picture of measles, they have running nose, they have cough, they have sneezing, etc. So the secretions of the nose and throat and the respiratory tract, they are the infective material. They are the one through which the infection spreads. And the communicability. What is communicability? Communicability is during the period in which the disease can be transmitted from one person to other. That is the communicability. So in measles, the communicable period is 4 days before the rash appears and 4 days after the rash appears. And when they have done this test and found that it was only one antigenic type, not many. Age. The maternal antibodies usually protect the infant up to 6 months. That's why we don't give vaccine before 6 months. Even if you vaccinate the child before 6 months, it is of no use because the maternal antibodies are already circulating and it will not help the infant to increase the immunity against the disease. That's why we do not immunize any child before 6 months. But it usually in the universal immunization program, we immunize the child at 9 months. In developed countries, it is at a lower age because of the epidemiological aspects. In our country, it is different. So, in the developed countries, their immunization starts from early age, like 6 months, up to 3 years, and less than 5 years, up to 5 years also, there is a chance for the child to get vaccinated in a developed country. There is a, after immunization, they found that there is a shift in age of measles. Then, coming to gender, both males and females are equally affected. Once the child is affected with measles, the child gets immune and that immunity is lifelong. Please remember that. Okay. Nutrition. In malnourished children, very severe malnutrition, usually in a very severely malnourished child, the immune system is not as in normal child. So the excretion of the virus for longer periods and intensity to spread is more. The intensity is more because of their immune status. Okay, got it? It can spread in any season, but it is coming to tropical. It is during the dry climate. Now it is this time for our measles to occur in our country. Usually it starts in the month of April, May, like March, April, May. In temperate countries with temperate season. In winter, their measles season is during winter, unlike in tropical country where it is during dry seasons. In India, it is usually from Jan to April. Now it has started, that's what I was telling. The intensity, population density and movement, they are very important factors for measles to spread, because measles is so contagious and it is so acute condition when there is an dense population, like for example in urban slums, wherein they come and settle down in the places wherever like slums. Because of the high population density, if there is one measles case, the virus enters, it spreads like a wildfire. And movement of the people, because they move from urban area to rural area and again come back, and this is the factor which will affect the spread of the disease. And the poor socio-economic conditions, you all know that poverty and because of the poverty there is low socio-economic conditions, and then that will result in unhygienic conditions and results in spread of measles. Coming to transmission of the disease transmission is very important. You should know. Why do you want to know about the disease transmission? When you want to apply control measures, okay, or the control measures, you should know about the disease transmission, where you want to intervene. If you want to intervene from where it is spreading, then it works. That's why you want to know about the disease transmission. Like in Corona, it is not yet known, but we all are using basic things like wearing the mask, keeping social distance, hand sanitization, etc. Because it's a like respiratory tract infection in COVID. That's why. In the similar way, coming to measles, the mode of transmission in measles is a droplet infection and droplet nuclei. You were asked in the exam, Viva, what is a droplet infection and what is a droplet nuclei, and give some examples. Don't please forget about measles. If you mention about measles, then you are done. So measles spreads by the droplet infection and droplet nuclei. Well, what is the portal of entry? It is the respiratory tract or the conjunctiva. Conjunctiva, it's very rare, but it is mainly the respiratory tract. And then what is the incubation period? The incubation period is up to fortnight, 2 weeks. It's 14 days, 10 to 14 days. The incubation period for measles is up to 10 to 14 days. Coming to clinical features of measles, prodromal stage. I just mentioned about incubation period again here, so that because it is very much related to our first stage, that is the prodromal stage. Here, when you look at the pictures, what do you see? The child is having red eyes and there is lacrimation, and then there are some spots in the mouth. When you look at it, they are the Koflik spots. So let's see. The child usually has fever, coryza, nasal discharge, cough. And then when you look at the child eyes looks red with watering of the eyes, and there is photophobia. When you want to put the light and see the child, just avoids it, photophobia. And then there is vomiting or diarrhea because the gastrointestinal system is affected in measles. That's why there will be vomiting or diarrhea. And when you look at the buccal cavity, then you see the Koflik spots. They are pathognomonic. How do they look? They are like white spots on the mucosa, the pink one, and they are very important for your diagnosis. eruptive phase. The eruptive phase means it tells us about the rash. How the rash is. The rash is, it is red, dusky red, macular or maculopapular. It's very typical in measles. Once you see, you will never forget how it looks. And then it is discrete and becomes confluent or blotchy. To start with, it is discrete, then it becomes confluent and blotchy. Then there is fever, the lesions disappear and brownish discoloration occurs in within less than 2 months. The virus, why you want to know where the virus is? Because that is the infective material. So the virus is present in tears, nasal, throat, urine, on blood. It is present in all these things. And then the antibodies, when rash appears, you will see the antibodies appear in the blood. Then how do you diagnose it? It is mainly clinical rash and the conflict spots, which helps you in diagnosis of measles. Post-measles stage, after the rash disappears and the child starts is out of the disease, then in this post-measles stage, you see that the child has loss of appetite and the child loses weight, becomes weak, and there is a failure to recover. And then there may be deterioration because of the chronic illness. Then because the child lost weight, became weak, there are more chances of bacterial and viral disease. So they are more susceptible to viral and bacterial disease. Then there is also nutritional and metabolic effects because of the disease. Because of the disease, the absorption of the gastrointestinal tract absorption may not be good and the metabolism may be affected because of the measles disease as such. And then there is tissue destruction because of the loss of weight, weakness, child not able to recover, chronic illness, there is a growth retardation. And the common complications of measles are your diarrhea, which will be coming later. I will be going through the slides. That time I will explain you all what are the complications of measles. And then the chancre morris, the buccal cavity. Then the pyogenic infections, bacterial infections are common. Then your fungal infections, candidiasis. And when the child is having latent tuberculosis, the tuberculosis gets reactivated. Complications. Look at the complications of measles. Most of them, because of the complications, they get hospitalized. Look at the pictures. So these are the things which you have to remember. If the child with measles is admitted in the hospital, it is mainly because of the complications, post-measles complication. The other complications are your diarrhea, pneumonia. 1/3 of the children suffer from diarrhea, and 1/3 or more than 1/3, even up to 80%, they may suffer with pneumonia. And then your this ear is affected. Then the child may start having otitis media, and then some of the children may develop corneal ulcer and a scar. Then it will affect the vision. The children may become blind. And then encephalitis. Encephalitis is a very rare complication, but you have to remember all these complications. You have to remember. You may get short notes as complications of measles, 4 marks. Then I'll just give the figures. How many are hospitalized? Usually what percentage are hospitalized? It is the 18%. And diarrhea, 7% of them. Then pneumonia, in developed countries it is less than 10%. But in developing, like India and all, I was telling, it may go up to 80%. Then otitis media is up to 15%. Neurological encephalitis, which I said it is very rare, it is 1 in 1000. And SSP, it is very rare, 1 in 3 lakhs. Okay. Then pulmonary complications, that is pneumonia and all, deaths can take place in 90% of those who have pneumonia, and in adults the fatalities are rare, it can be up to 15%. So, if a pregnant woman is affected with measles, it can result in abortion or premature delivery or mild to severe infection in newborn. Secondary infections can take place and disseminated intravascular coagulation, which can result in bleeding when she is pregnant. Okay, premature labor. So, whenever a case of measles, whenever you come across a case of measles, what you have to do is, as a part of treatment, you have to supplement vitamin A for the child, 2 doses. So, why we have to give vitamin A? Because vitamin A absorption is not there, and the child needs vitamin A during to cope up better with the disease, and the child will survive, and also there are less chances of complications if a child is given vitamin A if the child is affected with measles. How many doses you have to give? 2 doses. So the first dose you have to give immediately, and the second dose you have to repeat the very next day. Okay, don't ever forget, it's not weeks, just next day. So how much you have to give? If the child is less than 6 months, just 50,000 units. And if the child is up to 1 year, it is 1 lakh units. If the child is more than 1 year, then it is 2 lakhs. And with the clinical signs, you can also give third dose 4 to 6 weeks later. Prevention. How do you prevent measles? That is our important part of our this session today. Vaccination. Vaccine, it is a live attenuated vaccine. It is very safe and effective. It is a freeze-dried vaccine. So you reconstitute with sterile diluent. The diluent comes along with the vaccine. It is not, you should not buy from outside. Please remember, their diluents are supplied along with vaccine, and there is also a stabilizer in the vaccine, that is sorbitol or hydrolyzed gelatin, and a small amount of neomycin, and it is always stored between 2 to 8 degrees centigrade in the ILR at primary health center, and once it is reconstituted, you have to use within 4 hours. Otherwise, the potency is lost after 1 hour. If the temperature is very high, that is at 20 degrees, 50% of it is lost. And if you keep at 37 degrees centigrade, 100% is lost potency. That's why you should be very careful when you, after you reconstitute, you have to keep it, you have to ensure that potency is maintained at vaccination site, immunization site. And this is like a single only measles vaccine. Nowadays we are also supplied with MR, that is a combined vaccine, measles with rubella. Now we don't have separate measles as such. We have a combination of MR vaccine which is supplied by Government of India under the Universal Immunization Program. That MR is, it's a combined vaccine which has both measles and rubella. And the other vaccine which is also a combined vaccine, that is measles, mumps, rubella, that is available in the market. It's not there in the Universal Immunization Program. it is not a government supply, but you have to remember that it is available at the in the market. At what age it is given? It is given at the age of 9 months. And please remember, in the exam, in the viva, the examiner will ask about the route of administration of measles vaccine. It is subcutaneous only. It is subcutaneous only. So, please remember, it is subcutaneous. So, the immune response, which you all learnt in your microbiology, it is both humoral as well as cellular. And reactions after the vaccine, it is very mild. Mild illness occurs up to in 20% of them. Immunity starts, means we can measure the immunity after 12 days after vaccination. It's a lifelong protection. 99% of them are protected, and there is a seroconversion to the rate of 90%. 99 and 90 are very good figures. Don't you all think so? Yes. Contacts. So, if there is a measles vaccine, all the contacts have to be vaccinated within 3 days of exposure. What are the contraindications for this vaccine? It is usually high fever, other serious diseases, then pregnant women, others. Adverse effects, it is the TSS, death within 48 hours, and it will increase case fatality rate. That is also one of the adverse event if it is a TSS. Measles and HIV, routine immunization is done in such children because they are potentially susceptible and they are asymptomatic, potentially susceptible though they are asymptomatic HIV positive children and adults. So, we give them like any other general public, like general children. General means normal children. The first dose is given at 6 weeks and then additional 2 doses as per the national schedule. Outbreak. How do you control outbreak? Isolation for 7 days. Whenever there is a measles case, we have to see that the child do not come in contact with others at home, and so we isolate the child for 1 week. Then we immunize contacts within 2 days of exposure. Then prompt immunization. Whenever there is an epidemic, we do ring immunization. That is, we want to prevent the spread. We'll see what it is. Eradication of measles. Is it possible to eradicate measles? Yes. Why? Because the source of infection is only the case. There is no animal reservoir of infection, and vaccine is available. A single dose will give protection, lifelong protection. It is a heat stable vaccine, and if we cover all the infants at the right age, the protection is we can protect the community or the children up to 96%, and immunization gap is to be reduced if we want to eradicate the measles. What are the challenges of elimination? So, if we want to eliminate measles from India, wherein India is a signatory in the Southeast Asia zone, and they have signed saying that they will eliminate this measles by 2025. So, now we are in 2021. So, we should have a good immunization system. It's very important because it is highly infectious, and all inaccessible populations, you have to reach them. And if there is any refusal to take vaccine, you have to ensure that you have to educate them. And then you also should have to follow up the epidemiology, changing in age shift or whatever it is, epidemiology. All these are challenges like increasing, now there is an increasing transmission among adolescents and adults, means shift in the age group. All these are like big challenges for us to eliminate measles from the country. So it also needs to provide catch up, then inadequate human and financial resources. That is very big challenge for our country like India, wherein we have such a huge population, more than billion. So India, along with other 10, I was telling you all that it is a signatory for the Asian region, that is Southeast Asian region member country. It has resolved to eliminate measles and control rubella and congenital rubella syndrome by 2020. But now it has increased up to 2025. Summary: measles is an acute contagious viral disease. Only humans are affected. It can be eradicated because the source of infection is only the case and there is no animal reservoir. There is a safe vaccine. A single dose will protect more than efficacy is more than 90%. Vaccine is available in single and combined form, but the only challenge is high level of immunization coverage. Did you all understand? Am I clear? Thank you. Any questions, please post me. I will get back to you. Thank you all. Have a good day. Bye. Put it